your battles. If her bum is not that mad, but this woman makes you feel safe, she allows you to share how you feel and be vulnerable without making you feel like a dickhead for
Then
doing
keep
it.
her as a friend on speed dial. Find the mad back, wife that, and call her when there's problems, okay?
Toxic!
Wagwan peeps, it's Venom, what you saying? Alongside my home slice, damn to the zane. When she and I get together on the poddy, ask anybody, the vibes are insane.
Join our family and feel free to come by. We on Apple Podcasts and Spotify.
Yeah.
New drop on the way every Monday at 6.
Tune in and come see what we unpick.
Hey, hello, hi peeps. Welcome back to the Unpicked podcast show. You are here with the one and only Dami Zane, and I'm also with my co-host Venom.
The people, hey.
Yo. And as you can see from the title of the show today, we're going to be unpicking why women today are finding it more and more difficult to find a husband. Husband. Why are you struggling to find husband? If you're new here, thank you for coming through. Hope you enjoy the show and you subscribe and follow. And also if you're a returner, thank you for coming back. We appreciate you. If you saw last week's episodes, then you'll know that we've made some changes. And so we're just going to carry on with that because it seems like people liked it. And if you haven't seen it yet, you better go back and watch it because it's disrespectful to just be skipping episodes. Okay. And with that being said, we're going to move straight into the icebreaker. So Venom, I believe...
I got the questions, but do you know what you didn't mention? Yeah, do you know what you didn't mention?
What didn't I mention?
You didn't mention, the merchant dizzle that we got over here. You didn't mention the fashions.
Okay. I mean, I thought it was obvious. I was getting scared. I was like, what did I mention? Okay, well, then, since, you want to mention it, go on, mention it then.
Yeah, man. I mean, if you haven't seen it, let me move my mic out of the way. Bam! But yeah, myself and Dami Zane got the unpicked tops on the, sporting the merch and that. And also, we've got the mugs, just especially for the tea. It's Dami to the Zane. You got me. What was the score? Like 3 out of 5 last week.
Don't worry about the score. Just ask me my questions and let me do that.
I'm just checking, all right? So 3 out of 5. We need to put this somewhere so we can see what the Italian score is.
I got you. Don't worry about it. I got you. Okay.
Okay. So Dami to the Zane, I got some questions for you this week. Now it's game time. Are you ready?
Yeah, I'm ready. Let's go.
Multiple choice. It's gonna be the same format that you gave me the questions.
Of course it is.
Multiple choice. 5 questions. Let's see how you do.
Yeah.
Okay. So, what was the name of Beyonce's debut solo album? Was it I Am Sasha Fierce? Was it Dangerously in Love? Or was it B-Day? I'll repeat the answers and I'll give you the ABC. Was it A, I Am Sasha Fierce? Was it B, Dangerously in Love? Or was it C, B-Day?
Dangerously in Love.
Well done, well done.
Thank you.
Question number 2.
Yeah.
Rihanna's breakout single, Umbrella, was originally written for who?
Okay.
Was it Britney Spears? Was it B, Beyonce? Or was it C, Alicia Keys?
It was A, Beyonce. A, Britney Spears.
Hey. You got 2 points.
Thank you.
Was that a knowing or a lucky guess?
I knew that one.
Ah, damn. I thought I got a little tricky one in there. Okay, cool. Don't worry. Question number 3.
Yeah.
In which teen drama did your lover boy, Mr. Champagne Pappy, star as b-ball player Jimmy Brooks?
Yeah, go on.
Was it A, Degrassi? Was it B, In Living Color? Or was it C, The Parkers?
I think it's A, the grassy. I can't pronounce it. I think it's A.
Sure? Final answer.
I'm locking it in.
Boom. 3 points.
Thank you.
You're lucky still. Question 4. Who did Biggie Smalls have no info for? Was it A, the FBI? Was it B, the DEA? Or was it C, the Popo?
And he had what? No answers for them?
No info.
No info. Don't know the lyric or the association with that phrase and whoever. So I'm going to take a stab in the dark. So what was it he didn't have?
No info.
No info. And the options are FBI. What's the second one again?
DEA.
Yeah.
And then
or
C,
the Popo.
The Popo.
I'm going to go with B, but I'm taking a stab in the dark.
Oh, it's a lucky stab.
Thank you.
No info for the DEA. I know you know these ones, yeah? Guys, I'm just going to tell you right now. She was Googling while she was pretending to be thinking.
Don't try
We
it.
know what
I'm
she was doing,
right
but
here.
it's all right. It's all good. We saw her. We know what we saw. Don't worry. I'll highlight
Why
the
do
clip.
you always do this? Why do you always make accusations when you're losing? You always do this. What's wrong with you?
What are you talking about? I
I'm
didn't
in
say
the lead
nothing.
right now.
I didn't say nothing. I didn't say nothing.
Just give me. Yes, you did. You just accused me of doing Google. You just said it.
I did not say that.
Okay, question 5.
Last question.
Yeah.
Another Biggie Smalls one. How old was Biggie Smalls when he was murdered? A, 22. B, 24. Or C, 26.
I think it was C.
That's the first one you got wrong.
Was it 24 then?
Yeah.
Yeah, I was debating in my mind when you asked the question. I was thinking it's either 24 or 26, but it's okay. I'm happy with 4 out of 5.
Maz, you did a good run. You did a good run.
Thank
Google
you very
helps you
much.
on one of them, but yeah, it was good.
Whatever.
It was a good run.
Well, guys, we're gonna move on to the tea. So in the last week, bare things have been going on, it's been a bit crazy.
It has.
But here in the UK, you know how we all love Stormzy and that. There's been a lot of speculations. First of all, obviously, he released another song. He already did, I can't remember the title of the song.
He did a slow song.
He did a slow song, and people were like, he did it for Maya Jama, his ex, for those of you that might not know. And then he released another one. And people were like, oh my God, if you thought the last one was gonna make you miss your ex, this new one's gonna make you want to text them. And I was like, God forbid, I shall never do such a thing. But, again, people are saying it's for Maya Jama. Well, anyway, they got spotted together hugging at Kendrick Lamar's concert. Yes. But then Stormzy also posted on Instagram a picture of him and Taylor Swift with a love heart. And people were like...
Yeah. The Taylor Swift one...
Eyes emoji.
I said, swear it ain't so. But it's not. It's not. I saw his story about it. Which was like at the time, not a revision of what happened. It was at the time, and he was just hyped, like saying, I'm gonna get a selfie with Taylor Swift. And then he that's the selfie.
Well, anyway, boy, Stormzy. I actually want him and Maya Jama to get back together because
why?
I think it will make a great love story for the UK
What?
streets.
The details never came out, did they? But essentially, he was cheating on her. Essentially, in some capacity, like emotionally or in some capacity, yeah. That's what you're wishing on your homegirl, yeah. You're saying
when you put it like that, obviously not, but
I'm just
He's really putting
clarifying
out.
what you're.
He's really putting out all the stops. He's making tunes and he's doing this and he's doing that, and it's like people make mistakes.
Okay.
You have cheated before, guys. Go and see season 1. He's talking about cheating. He admitted he's cheated on somebody before.
Yeah, but it's.
He has cheated before, so everybody,
Wow, just dragging man on the net. Boy. Listen. Yes, I have stepped out before in the
Yes,
past.
he has. Yes,
before.
yes. Yeah. And you deserved, you are a changed man, right?
I'm a changed man, of course. Yeah.
Exactly. So Stormzy could be a changed man as well. So let's move on. So anyway,
Hmm.
in other news, Auntie Linnell has started on OnlyFans.
Yeah.
If you was a single man, would you be paying for the subscription?
This OnlyFans, it came a bit too late in life because I will never know. I was already fully, settled down when OnlyFans arrived. So I'm not even sure I would be into it, if you know what I mean. But she should definitely have always had her OnlyFans because I swear she's always been doing up this older sexual high sex energy role.
I don't appreciate how you kind of curved the question. The question was if you wasn't a taken man. So if you're single, today, would you have been subscribing to
hers
sexual content on? You're not down for the aunties. The auntie.
I didn't say aunties. You made it about more people than it's about. No, her particular page. Her particular page.
You don't think she's spicy?
Not my kind of spice. Not my kind of spice. But
the comments under the post. I saw someone. I can't remember what page it was that reposted it to like spread awareness, and some guys were like, "Yeah, she can take all my money. Yeah, let me get the credit card for the subscription." I'm like,
yeah. I mean, that's a lot. It's a lot. Okay. I definitely think she's attractive and she's doing bits, and that is 100% a lane that she should be in based on the characters that she's been doing. But I would definitely say that she doesn't evoke that kind of emotion from me whereby I would want to see more of that content outside of the film and the laughs and the whatever, if you know what I mean. That's just me being honest. But there's definitely some older women out there who are like flame. But to me, she's not one of them ones. To me.
Okay, fair enough.
In other news, though, this week, what was the other thing? Oh, Chunks. So apparently Chunks, have you seen this? Chunks is, he said he's going to take a break from social media.
I saw that, but I didn't see why.
Yeah, so this is why. It's because he took a picture with iShowSpeed and Lil Nas X and then received a lot of backlash. I'm assuming from the Muslim community, because of Lil Nas X. I only saw a couple of comments, but it was basically about Lil Nas X being a devil worshipper and him being a actual how do you even word it? But him being Muslim and him letting his faith be known to the world. That's a part of his brand.
He's an open practicing Muslim.
There you go. And then the association or being in the same space happily with someone who has the backstory of Lil Nas X.
I mean,
yeah.
The thing is, in the Islamic faith, I can see why that would be. I don't know if it would be considered as haram, but it would definitely be something that people might raise an eyebrow to. But then again, I think even in the Christian faith, it's the same thing. Only thing though is the argument. My rebuttal, if it was me, is but Jesus didn't shy away from sinners, so why should I? But the Islamic faith is different. It's not like that.
Yeah. And then I think the difference as well is that that the reason why they'd be in the same vicinity is to some type of gain, if you know what I mean, like whether it's a commercial gain or awareness to spread himself to his fans or whatever. People just said you're gone too far, bruv. Like, if you know what I mean. And I don't know. I feel it for him. Like I don't know. Do you know what I mean?
It's hard. I don't know. It's hard because it's hard.
Do you know what I mean? It's a tricky one.
When you're in the industry and you get to that status or get that big, it's like, okay, I'm torn because you got to think about your branding as well. Like I know for me personally, there's certain people you can't get me to work with. I don't care how many zeros are on that check. Like it's going to be a no because it's not part of my brand.
Is Lil Nas X one of them?
Not really.
Have you seen the video of this black guy making the whole black community very seen, talking about why black people keep so many bags in the house?
You know what's funny? Recently, I had to clear out all the bags I have. I had way too many that I don't use. It's just there. But you know what? I keep, like when you go to like Bossman shop or those corner shops.
Yeah, the corner
and they give you like the
supermarket.
blue or the black, like those bags. That's the stuff that I put like, like when I sometimes buy my meat in bulk. So when I'm like separating it, so instead of using a freezer bag, I'll use that. And then there's like the bag that you use, obviously for shopping, but then different types of shopping requires a different sort of bag.
Different type
if that
of
makes
bag.
sense.
Bag for life, big bag, little bag, IKEA bag.
Exactly. Then it's like, okay, I've run out of black bags.
Yeah, so it's a bin bag.
This bag is multi-purpose. Now I'm using it as a bin bag. And I bet you know the kind of bag I'm talking about. He wasn't wrong. He wasn't wrong.
No, I'll tell you, all of them was fine. But the reason why I had to hold on to that video is because one of them I had never heard of. And I wanted to bring it to your attention to see. So he said, the ones that you've mentioned, like freezer bag. He had shower cap. I was like, I've never done that, but I can see. I can see. So shower cap, that's fine. Shoe bag, I've done that. Flour chicken in the bag, I can see that. Extra garbage bag, you just mentioned. Yeah. But in the middle, he mentioned this one, cook rice. Rice.
No.
And he ripped the bag and put it over to hold the steam. I said,
no. I don't do rice. A bag and a rice in a bag. I don't do rice in bag and a rice. I don't do rice in a bag.
Plastic bag on steaming rice to
anyway,
on the cooker.
I don't do that one. Sorry, that one I don't agree. But you know what? Yeah, black people have been recycling from day dot. You didn't need to tell black people to start storing bags, to be reusing bag. We've been doing that. We've been recycling.
Every bag been a bag for life.
You don't need to tell black people about reusing bottles. You don't need to tell black people about reusing their ice cream and their butter containers. We've been doing that, especially Africans. Have you ever opened a container of
ice cream?
Utterly butterly.
Oh, utterly butterly.
I can't believe it's not butter. And you open it, and what's in there? There's steel. If it's not steel, there's jollof rice. It's a thing. Or, when you get the celebrations at Christmas time, celebrations tin, or it's always the biscuit tin. Tin. And you open it, and what do you find? You find thread, miscellaneous
needles,
buttons,
thimbles,
needles,
haberdashery.
I'm telling you, we created recycling. If you didn't know before, you know it now.
I had a random little bonus. Have you seen, Yeah, have you seen a comment on our reel from the Australian person who was saying that Milo is Australian and it's pronounced Milo?
No, I did not see that. And guys, we're going to move on now. So, thank you very much. Thank you. Next question.
Okay. Thank you. Bye.
Thank you. Thank you. Bye.
Coming to the Zane. This week I want to unpick this particular question with you, which is, why are women finding it more difficult to find our husband this 2022, 23 and beyond?
Husbands. Do those things exist anymore? No, I'm joking. I don't know. This question is massive. This question is actually massive.
It is massive. There's many tangents, but what tangent? We'll go on one tangent.
Nah, I think we could fit a few in. There's a lot going on. I think that society in general has changed. Like people's views on marriage has completely changed. So there's that. There's also dating as a whole and how people approach dating has changed. There's social media that likes to only show you the negatives and make women believe that all men are one type of way and make all men believe that all women are a type of way. There's that. And then there's feminism that's fed this idea to women that they don't need men and that they should focus on their careers and that they will find the same satisfaction from other things, not relationship. Not to speak of making women believe that they are equal to men in terms of how we are made and what we can do and etc., which we can talk about in a bit more detail in later on because there's a lot to it.
Yeah,
so
there's a lot to equality for sure.
I think there's a lot going on right now. And I think as much as women are finding it hard to get married, we've already spoken about before that men are lonely and men this, that, and the other, whatever. I think both sides are struggling, personally. I think both sides are struggling to find the right type of companionship. And marriage is not high on people's priorities anymore. And yeah, it's a lot. I don't know. What do you think? What are your...
I found a point interesting that you said that you find it to be sort of balanced, as in men are struggling as well. Because I don't know if I was always of the thinking that, yeah, I'm going to get married, if you know what I mean. Where I've always been of the thinking like, yeah, I'm going to have kids. So I don't know, me being what I would consider to be a slightly more balanced individual. I think there's a lot of people who are not very balanced and maybe they just want kids, but they don't really care about the relationship. They might not care how many different partners they have kids with, like a guy. So I don't know. Yeah, exactly. He's not married. He was married and then that didn't work. And then he decided my path is different. Now, instead, I'm going to have 12 kids with like 5 women and that's my calling. Whereas I think women are a bit more monogamous in general, as a generalization, sorry. So I think more women would have the expectation of having a husband in their mind in comparison to guys. But I think my thoughts on it has always been, or more recently has always been, that I think the women's standards are too high. I just realized I was going to come back to the same thing. I think that women, they want they have a lot of expectations and they require that their expectations be met.
Do you not think that men are the same?
Not entirely, because I think guys will get... I personally think guys are more open to get into relationships with women who are simply attractive. If the woman's attractive enough. I think guys make more compromises simply based on looks, though. If a woman looks a certain way, then a guy will compromise on X, Y, Z, you know what I mean, through the chain, based on whatever his ideals are. But I think women are more...
Okay,
these are my
so let's come back
ideals,
to
and
that.
then...
Let's come back to that. So let's say a man's ideals. So, because what I'm trying to get you to see here is I think that both men and women have high expectations. I think that men, let's take the example you've given about men who can compromise based on looks. Let's say that his ideal is she's got to have a big booty, small waist, she's got to have certain features, her hair's got to be like this, skin tone's got to be like that, which isn't unusual to hear because that's some of the things that men have on their list of ideals. Now, a man is not going to, a man who thinks that way is not going to entertain a woman who might be perfect for him but doesn't fit those ideals, because that's what he wants fundamentally. And likewise, a woman, if she's like, oh, she might have different ideals, is what I'm trying to say, and might not be willing to compromise on those ideals, but both are the same in that they both have ideals and they're not willing to move from that. And I think there's men that are just the same. There are men that are like, I will not date a woman between certain ages, or a woman from certain places, or a woman who looks a certain type of way, for example. And even if that woman shows that she's supportive, shows that she's got good communication skills, shows that she's got all the things that are beneficial for a relationship, simply because she doesn't look the way he wants her to look, he might not even bother to approach her in the first place.
Yeah,
do you see what I mean? So I think it's very easy for you to sit there and say women's standards are high, but I think men also have standards, and it's all about what you consider to be high or not. A woman saying that she wants a man who can provide and etc. is just as high of a standard as a man wanting a woman that looks, in his opinion, perfect. It's a high standard. Regardless of who has the standard.
It's about
Do you
how
see what I mean?
prescriptive you are to the standards. It's not what the standards are. I think that men are less
men are also
prescriptive to their standards. I disagree. I think that men's standards are more blurred and less detailed than women's standards. My personal opinion, and also the fact that men will sometimes have a standard is set to who they would date seriously or who they would consider marrying, but that doesn't stop them from interacting with and exploring other things with other people. And through those explorations, they sometimes meet people who they're like, oh, actually, I really connect
women
with this
do the
person,
same thing.
etc.
I know of women who they will say that they would prefer to marry a certain type of man, but because they like to have their ego stroked, they're very happy to waste another guy's time that's really not for them. So you'd end up being her pen pal for time and then realize, why does she never come out to meet me for a date? But she'll let me give her all the compliments in the world. And it's the same thing. Some men might be like, that girl's good enough to have sex with only. But I would never make her my girl. It's still wasting her time. The same way the girl that is only doing pen pal with you is wasting your time. I think that's what I'm saying. It's very easy for you to say, oh, I think it's different for women. I think the ideals or what they're looking for will obviously be different, because what a man is looking for and what a woman is looking for is always going to be different because of the different genders. But I think when it all boils down to it, the way in which nowadays people are not willing to compromise and people are looking for the wrong things is the same. It's just in regards or in context to their gender. So I use an example of a man who's hyper focused on looks and age and stuff like that, but ignoring the qualities that actually matter. Likewise, I've said in the past, and I'll say it again, women who are focused on, does he have a beard or not? Is he 6 foot, over 6 foot? Is he XYZ? Those are still physical. That's why I use that, because it's two different ideals, if you want to use that, or expectations of what they want in a partner from a physical standpoint, right? But they're things that can be compromised, but people are choosing not to because they're so stuck by their list. Yeah, I think both men and women have that. I think because you're a man, you're probably only paying attention to what women are saying in this regard. You're not really paying attention to what the men are saying. And likewise for me, I more pay attention to what men are saying they want because I'm a woman. So it's very easy for both sides to make it seem like the other side is doing worse than the other. When you really take a step back from it and look at it as a whole, I think people have high and unrealistic expectations of what they want from a partner. And they actually don't pay attention to what you need. They don't. I'm not going to say men do it worse, women do it worse, men are more descriptive. I don't think that. I actually think it's people. And I think the cause of that is because of things like social media or what we see on TV and you know, anywhere else that people get their secondary information from, or where they're getting their secondary socialization from. And that is what's fueling a lot of people to have these ideals that are just not realistic. You know, if men didn't have unrealistic standards, I don't think you would get a lot of women going under the knife to go and get BBL, to get a big booty like that. It just wouldn't happen. As much as women try to say to themselves, just using this as an isolated example, just as much as women say, oh, I do it for confidence or whatever, why do you think they need the confidence in the first place? Where do you think their confidence is being where do you think the confidence stems from? Where do you think they're getting that confidence from? Then they're getting it from looking good for the man. Fundamentally, men like big butts or big boobs or.
Amen.
Do you know what I mean? Right, cool. So women are like, you know what? That's what is attractive to whom? It's not It's not. Do you know what I mean? Unless you're trying to attract women, and if that's what women like, and you're trying to attract women, do you, boo boo? But we all know from the beginning of time, and when I say time, I mean my life, we've all known big butts, big boobs is a thing, right? And so women going out to go and get plastic surgery, for example, to fit into that mold is not to attract women. If you're heterosexual, you're not doing it to attract women. You're doing it to attract men.
Or to command a certain type of... I don't even know if it is to attract men, you know. When
you boil it down to simplify the thing, it's for the man them.
I think it's a socialization thing of trying to be the top like woman in the pecking order, like the alpha female.
For who? For
the women, as in
why would you want to be top in the pecking order of women? What's the fundamental reason for it?
To be in positions of power and control. It's the same.
For why? It's for the male gaze. Let's just call a spade a spade.
No, you're not always.
It's for the male gaze. When you really boil it down, it's for the male gaze. Okay. I used to walk around when I was younger, delusional. Yeah, I was very much like, yeah, I want a big bum. For me, it's for me. It's for me. That's what I used to say to myself. A lot of girls will argue with me when I say it's for male gaze. They'll argue. They'll be saying what you're saying. No, not really. Not really. I do it for me. Oh, okay. Sure, hun. Sure.
I'm not saying they do it for them. I'm saying for power. I'm saying for status.
They do it for... Okay, let me tell you the tea. As a woman, yeah? This status you're talking about, there's women... And a lot of women, they base their status on where they rank.
Yeah.
For men.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
That's just how it works. Whether people want to admit it or not, this is what I'm trying to say to you.
No, I agree. That's
why you get in groups, yeah, girl groups. You'll definitely get girls who are not in relationships who will feel inferior to their friend who is in one, or the friend that is in one making their friend who is single feel inferior for not having a man. Or you get scenarios where there's the girls that get man who look at them when you go out. She always gets chatted up. She's the attractive friend. I'm not the friend that man look at.
Yeah.
So in there already, there's a status already. But it all stems from the man's gaze. It comes from the man. The status thing it comes from men. Who do men rank and where do they rank them? And women tend to put their value in where men rank them. That's why they do things like that. When you really dig deep, you find that a lot of it stems from the male gaze. They want the male gaze. Or they place their value in the hierarchy on whether or not they're attractive according to male gaze. And society now makes you want to believe that, no, it's not because of the man. No. When you really take it down, when you really look at the fundamentals of it, it's because of man. And if that didn't exist, then I would believe you in saying, oh, men, more willing to, not that they're more willing to compromise, but they don't have as detailed expectations and etc. If that was the case, then women wouldn't be fighting to reach a hierarchy status that is based on whether or not they are more desirable or more attractive to the man. You wouldn't have pick-me's. You wouldn't have, do you know what I mean? You just, all of that wouldn't be there. It would be, we don't care about the man. But that's not true. Do you see what I mean? And likewise, amongst men that kill themselves to try and make a lot of money, thinking about swag, thinking about trying to get to their status, is because women place value on money. Women place value. So for that reason, men rank their status based on where they're placed in that regard, especially if you're heterosexual. So again, I think when you take a step back and you look at it from kind of a outsider looking in perspective, you look at it holistically, it's the same. It's just for different reasons. And we have different behaviors because, hormones and stuff is different or whatever. But the fundamental of it is the man are trying to be the best top 1% man to get girls, and the girls are trying to be the baddest looking baddie for the man. That's what they're doing it for. They're not doing it for any other reason. Deep down, that's what they're doing it for. Whether they want to admit it or not, whether they want to come to that realization or not, that's what it is. And that's because as humans, that's how it's meant to be.
Okay. So then coming back to the question then, how does that inform why women are finding it more difficult to get married if they're able to just buy their way into these good looks?
I don't think they can. I think there's a lot of men who don't see why they should get married. So, okay, I've been single 2022. Yeah. And for a portion, I've been on some dates with some guys, right? And I would say, let's say I'm not going to give you real numbers, but let's say I've been on dates with about, let's say 10 guys. Let's say about 80% of those guys have all said they don't see marriage for themselves. They're not even interested in it. But they do want to have children though. They want to reproduce, but they don't want to get married. When I've asked them why on these dates, like, what is it about marriage? They're just like, well, divorce rates are high. They don't see the point of it. No one they know are in successful relationships in terms of marriage. They've been single for so long. They quite like the bachelor life. They like the fact that, they don't have to share their space, or they don't want to share their space. Like, they've got loads of different reasons as to why marriage just isn't for them. But that doesn't decrease the amount of women that actually want marriage, because especially depending on your culture, you're kind of taught that it's marriage.
You need to get married,
yeah, it's marriage, right? So the 20% of guys that are like, no, I'm open to marriage, I would like to get married someday, there was other red flags. So it's like, okay, you want to get married, but I don't know if you're ready for it, or I don't know. Do you know what I mean? So that's completely different. But I think when you look at the single people right now, when you look at the population of single people right now, I think, first of all, marriage has not really been given good press, if that makes sense. Like, there's hardly any good examples of married couples anymore, and most people are coming from broken homes in terms of like parents of divorce or whatever, and there's just so much, like, it doesn't get good. There's no good press coming out for marriage, so to speak. There's less couples that are married that we're seeing on social media that are showing that, okay, yeah, there's ups and downs, but it's actually beneficial. We're seeing a lot more toxicity online now. There's a lot of man versus women conversations, black man versus black women conversations. None of this is going to make marriage desirable to anybody.
I hear that. I mean, I guess
and the same way, like, there's women as well choosing not to get married. There's women that are like, you know what, marriage is not for me. I don't want to get married. I like being single. It's less stressful. Men are stressed. Can't trust men anymore. Or a lot of black women saying, yeah, forget that. Forget marrying black men. How about that?
Yeah.
Or black men saying, forget marrying white women. All the other races are better than black women. Like, there's just a lot there going on. There's too much going on. But I don't think that we can just isolate it and say, oh, because women have high expectations. I think both sides, people have high expectations. They don't really know what it takes. We don't have great examples anymore. And people are not seeing value in marriage anymore. Marriage is not something that is like, oh yeah, I want to get married. It's just not. We're in a hookup culture right now. It's hookup culture. That's what we're in.
Oh yeah, but I think we've been in hookup cultures before. I don't think this is the first time we've been in a hookup culture. But it is more apparent that, yeah, marriages are declining, or people's ability to get into or sustain marriages is declining, but the desire to be married isn't necessarily, because that speaks to the decline, if you know what I mean. Whereas it's not like everyone's like, oh yeah, bond marriage, it's not a thing.
I don't know, because like I look at my parents' generation, and like even if I just look at people in my family in that generation, a lot of them got married, got divorced. So marriage in people now, I would say the dating scene now is not great. But when you look at even their generation, it doesn't look like marriage was great either, if you get what I mean.
No, I definitely understand.
So it's very I think we live in this time. I think the only difference is that marriage was valued in my parents' generation time. People still wanted to get married. Now, that's not necessarily the case. Like, I was having this conversation with one of my girls, and she's very like, I don't care for marriage. She believes, and I've tried my best to try and get her out of this mindset, because I don't think it's a healthy one, really. And I've said that to her, but she's very much like, women don't need men, but men need women. And I'm like, no, both genders need each other. Like, at the moment I'm clearing out my flat, and I'm like in the process of redecorating, and we went to IKEA and we bought some stuff, and I'm a single woman, so, you know, and I used to help my dad like with DIY, so there's me pulling out all my tools, putting together whatever I was putting together, and she was like, oh my God, I could never do this by myself, like I would need someone to do it. So there's me using it as a teachable moment. I was like, who would build it for you, babes? Because you don't need men, right? So who would build it for you? I'd hire someone. Who you hire, who would they be? What gender are they likely to be?
A man.
A man. I said, but remember you said you don't need a man. But he won't be my man. I went, but he's still a man. So what does that tell you?
No, this
idea that men don't need women and women don't need men, it's absolutely rubbish. Like, people just need to like stop believing what's on social media, grow up. You know? Yeah, that's what I think about it. I think there's a lot. This is a big conversation. There's a lot that can be considered. We just can't boil it down to, oh yeah, because women's expectations are high. Come on, man. Really?
No. It's definitely part of it. It's definitely part of it.
Really? I think everyone's got really unrealistic.
I agree that definitely men's expectation have risen over the years.
Big time.
Over the years. Because remember, I've been out of the dating game for a minute.
For a while, yeah.
And when I was back in it,
yeah,
my expectations weren't high, and the culture of men's expectations really wasn't that high. I think what it means to be a wife, as in just draw that on paper, that's still not high. It's very simple, a very simple list. But I think when you get into how people are dating, yes, it's a very ridiculous space, because everything is prescribed and everyone has this full notion of all of these things before they even get into anything on both sides of the table. And if anything, that is the main reason, I agree with you, why people are finding it harder to get into relationships, let alone marriage. But I think with regards to marriage, nobody values legitimizing a relationship, because nobody actually sees any relationship as long term. Like, there isn't a culture behind why you stay together. Jay-Z and Beyonce is very much another part of Hollywood. It's almost fiction at this point. It's not like a reality. A lot of us, as you said, come from broken homes. I agree. But even in saying that, I was thinking about this today. Coming from a broken home, I haven't always said, I want to get married. But as I matured and become a man, I was like, no, I do want to get married and have kids, etc., etc. But even though my dad is married now, my sort of understanding of that path isn't as clear as it should be because my parents separated. So me finding my way to a wife is me taking the same trip my parents took and trying to guess where they made one decision and me, I'm going to make a different one to get a different outcome, but not knowing, if you know what I mean, because that's not the path that was laid out for me to see. And I think that a lot of people have that as their example. They have a broken home. They might want marriage, but how do you get there if your example is X?
And you know what's funny? Because like I come from a home where my parents are still together, and I've spoken about this in the past. And I've spoken about the pressures that can put on someone in this generation where we're in a hookup culture, because it sounds like you're agreeing with me in so many words around us being in this hookup culture, and that fundamentally being the reason why people don't value marriage the way that it was valued in the past. And I'm someone who, and I'm not a unicorn. I know other people that come from homes where their parents are still together. Not as many as the people that have come from homes where their parents separated, but it's not like I'm a unicorn and I'm an anomaly or anything like that. But just from the perspective of someone who's come from a home where they didn't see their parents separate, they've seen all my life they've been together, it does make me have certain expectations that I would say is higher than somebody else, because there's certain things I just wouldn't stand for, because I know that's not going to work. Do you see what I'm saying? And I've always felt that that's what's made it hard for me to even agree to date someone. Like, you hear me talk about this a lot and it sounds like I'm boasting, but I do get approached. People do approach me for relationship, not even just, oh, I like you, let me take you out. Like this year I've had a few guys that wanted to go further than just dating and exclusivity with me. And I sat down and really thought about what they've displayed to me in terms of what kind of quality man or relationship they would be able to provide. And I was like, actually, I don't think this person will be able to, I don't think a relationship between us will have longevity to it, because, and I can give reasons, and I'm not going to go into detail because there's no need for that. But as someone who's seen a successful relationship, or touch wood, it will continue to be a successful relationship, I know that there's certain things that they've displayed that just, it wouldn't fit, if that makes sense. It makes it difficult to vet someone when you've got a good example. And so if you was to say to me, someone like me has high expectations, yeah, I will 100% agree with you, because I do. Because of what I've seen and what I've seen to work. And if I'm not seeing those qualities, I'm like, no.
Yeah, but again,
so in that respect, yeah, absolutely. High expectations in that respect. But just coming back to someone like yourself who's come from a home where you didn't have that example, and you're not quite sure how you would navigate certain things, and you've got to do guesswork. I think it can go two ways. Someone who comes from a home where their parents are separated, it's either you're going to work flipping hard to avoid it, or you're going to be like, well, would you expect? It happened to my parents, so I'm not expecting longevity in my relationships. I feel like it can go either way, and it boils down to the person and how they are as a person. And the reason why I say that is because, like, this ex that I keep talking about, guys, if you're new here, there's an ex that I talk about quite often, actually, but it's because he was my longest relationship. We were together for many, many years, and I learned a lot from that relationship. So when I bring him up, it's just because I'm sharing what I learned. He came, not to share too much information about him, but he came from a home where his parents never married, not really. And they separated when he was quite young. And for that bit of his history really ran through our relationship. I didn't see it at the time, but when I look at it upon reflection, it really impacted the decisions he made, even around like what he saw for his future.
Yeah.
It really, like, for me, I'm very you can even say I'm naive. I'm very like fairy tale, like, oh my God, I'm going to meet the guy. That was me. I've always been like that. I was like, yeah, well, if we're in a long-term relationship, that has to end in marriage. It doesn't make sense for it not to. That's how I saw it. For him, it was like, no, I don't see marriage as the be all and end all. After all, my parents split. After all, do you know what I mean? So he looked at it, I would say, from maybe a more realistic standpoint, and almost fearfully as well. He was very scared of committing because he was like, what if it turns out like that? Whereas for me, I was like, no, we'll work through it because that's all I've seen. No matter what, you work through it. So I think it can go either way depending on the type of person you are and based on your experiences and what you want for yourself can heavily be impacted by what you have grown up in and the environment you've come from. But also, again, I still think it's down to the person. Like, you can just be like, I do want this. It didn't work for my parents, but I want it. And I want to make sure that it's kind of like people that grow up in poverty. It's either you become obsessed with becoming rich or you just accept that is your fate, that I'm going to be poor forever, if that makes sense. So I think it's the same sort of idea around like people who are dating who come from a single parent home or seen a nasty separation between their parents or whatever. So I just think it's down to the person. But it is something that could impact whether or not you're even willing to get involved in a committed relationship or not.
Yeah, for sure.
Or if you have the know-how.
I think that even just to speak to your situation, I think that the pressure, it's the pressure and then the perspective, because having parents who are married, and I guess you see and you observe their relationship and you like their relationship, they have a healthy relationship, but then I think why it creates a high standard for you is because you base your normal on their marriage, but you didn't know them before they were married, if you know what I mean. Like, you were born into the world to
I can
marry
tell you
parents.
exactly why. I can tell you exactly why my expectations are high. My expectations are high because I have a fantastic father. He does everything that traditionally is expected from a man in a marriage and as a father, plus more. And so when I meet a guy, I'm like, okay, what sort of life would I have with this man? And certain attributes. I mean, my dad's not perfect, but he's an upstanding man. So it's like, I can't date someone who doesn't have those qualities. I saw something really interesting recently, just quickly, and it's a completely different topic, but it really got my mind thinking about masculinity and femininity. And they were saying that they feel that it was a bit of a conspiracy. They were saying something along the lines of how men are not encouraged to be masculine anymore. Men are encouraged to be feminine now. And again, that could be another factor to consider when we're thinking about women struggling to find husband, because if you can't have you can, sorry about, LGBTQ community, you can have two feminine energies. But what I'm saying is, in a heterosexual relationship, it doesn't really work. I don't think it works. I think you do need to have the yin and the yang, the feminine and the masculine. And if you've got men walking around thinking they're the prize and they're prancing around expecting to be pursued and expecting women to do things that's quite masculine, that's not attractive to a lot of women who are looking for that masculine energy.
I think both people find that unattractive, though. Like, men will find women displaying masculine traits unattractive, generally, and the opposite way round. But to caveat that, it's like, because of, to feed into the conspiracy, I don't know what came first, the chicken or the egg, but women definitely do respond better or more healthily to men with feminine energy. Just generally speaking, as in not necessarily for relationships, but just on a social level. And there's a guy on TikTok, I don't know his handle, but there's two different people that have done it, where they basically, straight guys, put on a super camp feminine act, walk up to random pretty girls in the supermarket, on the street, whatever, giving all of the sass, all the flavor, engage them in conversation. They give the number, and the girls and the guys, they're clicking. Like, it's like, yes. And then as soon as they hand over the number, the guys switch their energy from feminine to masculine. And the girls shut them off immediately. The guy be like, yeah, cool. I'll hit you up later. Da, da, da. And the girl's like, what? And I'm like, okay, cool. I get it. You just sold a dream there. You thought you was dealing with this type of person. Now you're dealing with that. But it didn't mean that you had to just, like, the energy is hell no. And the guy doesn't necessarily give them like, oh yeah, so like me and you, that's a thing. It's just like, yeah, cool, I'll hit you up, but I'm not gay, I'm straight. That's the energy that he came with. And the girls are not responding. So
I don't know. I don't get it because, I mean, I try not to base my knowledge on
what you see online and
because I just know that social media is not real, man.
Yeah, it's contrived. It is contrived.
There's a lot. It depends on your algorithm. It depends on the algorithm. It depends on what you entertain more is what it's going to show you. If you entertain content that tells you that women are toxic, most of the content you're going to see is that women are toxic. If you entertain content that tells you that men are trash, most of your content is going to be that men are trash. That's just how the algorithm works. So people that base their life decisions on what they see on social media, they're actually spiting, what's that saying? Spite in your face. What is, you know what I'm trying to say?
Cutting your nose off to spite
Cutting
your
your
face.
nose to spite your face.
But
like,
even,
you're not helping yourself.
But even from my personal experience, I've seen that when I've been in bigger groups of people socializing as a single man, whoever the most masculine guy is who comes with the super alpha energy, they've never come further along in the path with the women than me just being chill middle of the road.
But this is because of what we are seeing. That's why I mentioned social media.
But I'm talking 10 years ago.
I don't get it because me personally, I like macho men. I like not macho, but I like
watch
masculine
them get shut
guys
down all the time. They come
No. I think if you're rude or you're moving like man them, I get it. But masculine energy is not about being aggressive. You know what I mean? Like, masculine energy is also being that laid back, chilled guy that's observant, who just walks into the room. You know, you hear that. You hear that cliche thing. He commands attention and respect because the way he walks into the room, like, that's still masculine. He don't even have to say nothing.
That.
Do you know what I mean?
That.
So I think
that's more me, but
right. So I wouldn't call you feminine.
No, I'm not. But
do you know what I mean? I wouldn't
But what
say.
I'm saying is, from when I was in college, which is a long time ago, that is when women actually appreciated masculine energy. Because I was a young man, so I was not even playing. I was watching the game. I weren't playing because I was not ready yet. I'm watching the game. And I'm watching how the guys are doing. I was like, wow, I need to level up because these men are doing bits and I'm nowhere near there yet. But as time has come along, that guy and the guy who's winning today are very different guys. The way the women are responding to them is very, very different. Like, there's a reason why so many men used to shop back in the day, why so many men was on road. It's because it was recognized and it was appreciated. Not necessarily it was good, but the characters who would do it and why they would do it, it translated all the way through from them all the way through to the women. But now it's different. The guys who shot in my estate now, I know these guys ain't even got girls. Like, they just be on Instagram doing up likes and thing and following baddies because they aren't even the same type of guys that used to shop back in the day.
Yeah.
They're completely different.
I hear that. I think just coming back to this whole women giving feminine men more energy, I think it's the same thing around, like, women feeling safe, because femininity is being open about your emotions and talking about things and, you know, just being very warm and nurturing, that sort of behavior. And women kind of move in packs. Like, we're very like, oh, like, we talk and we love that stuff. So I can imagine why someone with feminine energy might appear to be attractive, but I don't think that it's going to work, because to me, sometimes you need someone who is just going to take the lead. going back to why masculine energy might not get as many numbers is because feminism, again, has sold this narrative that all men are aggressive and all men are predators, when that's not really true. Do you know what I mean? So it's kind of like, of course, nowadays women are not going to appreciate masculine energy in a man because they believe that all men are misogynists.
Yeah. That too. It's a very tricky road being a man in this day and age, you know. I'm glad I'm not single because I definitely say some wild things to my wife in jest. But also she gets it. You know what I mean? She accepts that I'm a human being and that I might be joking or I might just be having a laugh or even pulling her leg. It's not every day you're trying to
anymore.
oppress somebody. Yeah, it's not every day you're trying to oppress somebody or you're trying to actually physically, impose yourself on someone. And that's another issue is that everything is so very literal in this internet age because
everyone
so many things are offended. Written and it's just a hyper offended culture. And then when you boil all of that in, you mix it together, man, it just makes it very hard to relate to people. Because when you think about it, in terms of relationships, when people are starting relationships now, they spend probably the most time apart they've ever spent in history whilst trying to initiate a relationship. Because there's so much technology in place to allow you to communicate that you don't actually have to be there. Yeah. And I think that also plays a part because, like I said before, whenever I've gone on dates in the past, being a single man, my number one aim is I just need to spend time next to this person. I don't even need to talk. I'll know just from how we're moving, cool or not really. And I don't think that has come along with the times. I think the body language has been lost and sharing energy spaces has been lost outside of sex. And so more time people go for dates and eat and sex, if you know what I mean. And it's very, not transactional, but it just, everything happens at once and there's not much downtime in each other's space to really feel out what people are about. And then, things don't work.
Yeah, I agree. I said this will be a big one.
Yeah.
Because the question's aimed at women finding something difficult. But I just think the dating pool in general is difficult. Because I know men who desire to be in relationship, but they're not meeting the right woman, for example. And I know women who desire to be in a relationship, they're not finding the right man. Like, hi, I'm one of them. Or not meeting the right people. And times have changed. People have different values now. People have different, the way that people see dating now and what people want from relationships now is just, I don't know. And I feel bad for the next generation because I don't think it's going to get any better.
No, it's going to be much worse. It's going to be much worse for the next generation.
There needs to be a reset. Yeah, there needs to be a reset. Now, listen, you need luck and God on your side. At this point.
You just need down to earth people and they still exist.
But it's few and far between.
I don't think so, you know. I think everyone's got up their facade and it just takes a moment for people to break themselves down.
The reason why I say that is because if you haven't broken yourself down, I don't think you're down to earth. If you've still got your guard up, I don't think you're down to earth. You've got a lot of healing to do and you're not ready to
not like a guard up.
Do you see what I mean?
More like, you know, like lockdown. And it's not because of lockdown, because I know it was possibly a mess before, but then it's evidently gotten worse. But when you're not dating and you're not seeing people and you're not experiencing others in that way, you still yearn for it and you still do the mental cycle of it, and then you just basically you're just winding around the same ideas but in your own mind, which is why lockdown was so hard for so many people, because obviously it doesn't matter what they were going through, they were just going round and round and round. So if you didn't have good things going on in your head, then you're circling a lot of bad ideas or thoughts. And so when you don't have the healthiest idea of what a relationship or a partner should be, that's fine in a normal society because you're going to come across other people and that will iron itself out. But if you're spending all this time as an individual and it's just going around these ideas that are not necessarily correct, well, now you're in a different place and that needs to be unwound. Get what I mean?
Yeah, I get what you mean. I think I just think there needs to be a reset. I think that people are spending a lot longer single and getting used to being single.
Yep.
And then struggling to there's so many things. I was talking about this with my mum the other day. I was like, Mum, like, I live alone. I've lived alone for 3 years. And her question was, would you live with someone? Like, would you live with your partner before you married them? And I kept, you know me, flipping and flopping between two ideals. And I was like, Mum, you know what? For me to decide, fundamentally, I was like, for me to decide to live with a man, I need to feel safe. And when I say feel safe, I mean that I need to feel like my future is secure. And I'm not just talking financially. I'm talking in every sense. And I need to feel like I'm at peace when I'm with him. Because when I'm in my house by myself, I'm at peace. No one's disturbing me. There's no funky energy.
Of course, but that's easy. That's
do you know what I mean?
Yeah, that's easy.
Yeah, it's easy. So I need to feel like I'm not uncomfortable for me to leave my comfort and go into a space where I could potentially be uncomfortable. And that's a big ask.
It is.
When you've been living alone for so long. And even in that in itself, it's like, okay, well, her next question was, okay, well, how do you expect to work through that in marriage? Because you can't live on your own when you're married. You can get away with it when you're in a relationship because you could be like, well, we're not committed to each other in that way, so I don't need to live with you. But when you're married, you can't get married and live in separate houses.
Yeah, it's not
possible. And I was like, well, I have to learn at that point. I have no choice. I have to.
You need to expose yourself to it before.
What it is that. But what I'm trying to say is there's a lot of people like me who live alone, who've done life alone for a period of time, got comfortable in that situation. And then it's like, okay, bringing someone else in, they need to seamlessly enter my bubble. But is it possible? Nobody seamlessly enters your bubble. It's impossible. Do you know what I mean?
But your mind naturally will accept the idea that this person's gonna come in and not interrupt. Like, you won't have to compromise in any way, and they will adapt to how your life is flowing. That's the ideal that you have.
That's the ideal, but I'm realistic. I know that
I know.
Have to compromise as well. Like, I'm not delusional in that sense and think, oh yeah, whoever I move in with, it's just gonna, you know what I mean?
Yeah, it's gonna work.
I'm old enough to know now that it doesn't work like that. But it's something that when my mum asked me, it was thought provoking because it was like, oh my goodness, like, how would that work when I'm used to having things a certain way, and you know, I could be quite particular about certain things.
I'm the same. I get it.
So
I even have a friend who's going through it right now because her partner is not living. He's not like living by himself, and she is. So she's in that capacity. She's quite mature. She knows how to run a household, etc. He doesn't, and she wants to take the relationship forward. But then she knows that there's going to be all of these learnings that he has to do, and she doesn't want to be like a teacher to him. She's an adult. He's an adult. And this is a situation that I see a lot with women, because I feel like women often take that step of independence earlier than guys, probably due to, you know, how life pans out for people, but then end up resenting the guys when they now are trying to make the same move because, well, they've already experienced it, they've already made the learnings, they've already stepped ahead, and they don't want to be, you know what I mean, making the concessions for someone that's coming from the back, but someone's got to be coming from the back. Wow, that's not coming from the back like that. I don't know why I was,
I mean, there could be.
but someone's gotta have to be the person who's getting helped up. There's always gonna be someone who's one step ahead and someone who's one step behind. That is just
I think when
facts.
it comes to maturity, if you seek to find someone who's on your wavelength, then that could bust a lot of those issues that you might have around that. But I also think that it's all about whether or not someone is teachable and whether someone has the energy to teach as well. But I wouldn't say that it's always going to be someone's behind.
Someone is always behind. It doesn't matter what it is.
I don't think it's always that way. I think it's very possible to meet someone who's on your maturity wavelength and therefore you don't actually have to teach them those things. You can get two people that both have lived alone prior for a considerable amount of time, both know what it's like to keep a home and come together. That's possible.
Of course, but then they'll have different ideals about how things should be
They
done.
might have different ideas about when to put the washing on and whether you should wash the plate straight away or wait till everything piles up, or do you know what I mean? Like, how often do you change your beddings, which should be every week at least, and all sorts of things. But I think, I think it just, you might have different ways of living, but that doesn't mean that you don't, someone's behind and someone's ahead. You just have different ways of living, that's all. But yeah, I think, why are women finding it difficult to get married? I think fundamentally the answer is that society has changed. And traditional values are no longer exist, and people don't not as many place value on marriage as before. And I think that people have unrealistic ideas around what they want in a partner, and they're not thinking about what they actually need.
Yeah, definitely.
And I also think, if I'm going to be really brutally honest, a lot of women are entertaining people that they shouldn't be entertaining in the first place. And a lot of men have entertained people they shouldn't have entertained in the first place. And what that has done is it's shaped their feelings and beliefs around relationships in the first place. If you've only dated someone or a type of person, you're going to start thinking that that is all that there is out there.
Yeah. I think maybe a cleaner way to put that is that people need to improve their selection process, maybe, or their ability to select partners.
Much. Yeah.
Instead of blaming the people that they
Open your world up. You can't expect to find like a different type of person if you're going to the same places. Every weekend you're going to one of these parties like Recess, or what's the other one these lot go to? Recess or DLT brunches.
Yeah, I know DLT.
And you're going there every time they have an event, you're there. And you meet a different girl or a different guy and you're coming up to the same issue. Maybe stop going to Recess and DLT to get man and get girls. Maybe take yourself to seminars or go to museums or art exhibitions, or do you know what I mean? Like, open up your bubble. Do go and experience different things. You'll be surprised at what you will find in other places. It's not every time rave and brunch. You know, you've been on Hinge on and off for the last 3 years. You've spoken to many people on this Hinge. You still haven't clocked your companion on this dating site. Maybe it's not Hinge. Do you know what I mean? Like, open your world up. Travel. Go to different parts of the UK. Go to different parts of the world. If you keep your bubble small, you can only have so many options from that bubble. You can still have I want a guy that's 6 foot something. I want a girl that has a big booty. But if you're only looking for that in London, there's only so many you'll find. You have to go outside. If you're from South, well, South is big, but still, if you're only looking in South, your options are reducing. Though. If you're only looking in East London, your options are reducing. And that's what I'm going to say. Like, people need to broaden your mind, like, there's a whole big world out there. There's a whole big world out there. So you can have your expectations, but just don't expect to find it in the same places you're going to. You're not changing anything and you're expecting change. That's insanity. That's insanity.
I agree.
But I also don't want to fit into the narrative of women or men settling just because they want a relationship.
But it's not settling. But I feel like
because I also think that settling causes problems, later down the line.
But I kind of feel like everybody has to settle, though. That's why it's called settling down. It doesn't matter what your ideals are. Like, you have to make compromises in order to choose someone, because you can always find better. There's always a bigger bump. There's always a cuter face. There's always bigger breasts. There's always a better cook. There's always a more fertile womb. There's always more of anything that you want. So at some point, you have to just be like, this is it. This is where I stop. Like, you just have to say, here is good. We move. You can't build
do you not think that,
if you don't lay the foundation. You can't lay
not
the
a lot of
foundation
people
if you don't
think
dig
that
in. And you can't dig in unless you pick the land.
But some people, they're so busy trying to find that perfect land that they're never going to find the perfect land.
That's what I'm saying. There's always better land. The land, it just gets better and better and better and better and better and better and better.
Pick your battles, guys. Pick your battles. Pick your battles. If her bum is not that mad, but this woman makes you feel safe, she allows you to share how you feel and be vulnerable without making you feel like a dickhead for doing it.
Then keep her as a friend on speed dial. Find the mad back, wife that, and call her when there's problems, okay?
Toxic.
Top tips. I'm giving you lot game. I'm giving you lot game right now, man.
You know what, girls? Likewise, yeah. We've all got that guy that's been trying to be our man for time, but he's really just a friend. Keep him in the friend zone. You want the 6'4" daddy with the schlong who's toxic, but it's okay because you can talk to your male bestie. He'll be the shoulder that you can cry on. Don't worry. When your 6'4" guy is refusing to pick you up from the airport because he's too busy beating another chick behind your back, it's okay. That guy that's your friend that you ain't feeling like that, he'll pick you up because he'll do anything for you, babes. It's all right. If they can do toxic, we can do toxic too. How about that? Equality, feminism, gang, gang.
Glad. I want to give a shout out to Love, Hugs and Kisses, our newest subscriber. If you want to shout out like them, sub, leave a comment, leave a like. And we'll see you in the next one.
Peace.